The following live stream has been approved for restricted audiences only. It will definitely contain strong language and maybe some adult themes. Almost certainly. Viewer inebriation is advised.
Remember those days when summer was out for the hottest, sunniest months and all you had to do was make some of the greatest memories of your life? Those were the days, and we're going to be talking about them. Maybe for you it was the days of wine and roses, or maybe it was summer lovin', or maybe it was just VACATION in the summer sun. Tell us in the chat and tell us what you're sipping on now. We'll get this Canarble Wagon rolling right after these messages.
Last Call is streamed before a live audience.
Salud. Welcome. Glad to see you all here. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. I figured because we're talking about summer and, you know, what's a more of a summer drink than iced tea, right? Never had Long Island iced tea before. So I'm having a Long Island iced tea now. And here's the thing. I don't really care for iced tea, the flavor of iced tea. Any kind of iced tea, sweet tea, you know, Arnold Palmer, none of that stuff. But you know, I'm sipping on this because you know it's thematic and it's not bad. It's better than iced tea in my opinion.
It doesn't taste anything like iced tea.
That's why it tastes better to me. But it is very booze forward. You know, it's equal parts gin, rum, vodka, tequila, triple sec, and then you get some sweet and sour in there and a little bit of cola for color. This is a potent drink, but I get what everyone says because it doesn't feel like that going down. It's super smooth. I got the lemon in there because, you know, that's how you're officially supposed to garnish it. But I really don't friggin' like garnishes on my drink. You know, if I want a salad or fruit or something, you know, I'll eat it separately. Gets in the way of drinking. Speaking of drinking, let's get my sweetheart in here and ask Netter of Netter's Network, how you doing, my dear? And what are you sipping on tonight?
It's Friday. The week is over.
Indeed it is.
All the horrendousness.
Mm-hmm.
I am sipping on another nectar, which, for those of you who don't know, is cranberry grape juice. And I haven't even had any yet. I'm slurring my words.
Yeah.
Cranberry grape juice along with Malibu rum.
We're going to get good and liquored up, and we're going to have some fun tonight after the stream. Well, I mean, the stream will be fun, too. But anyway. Let's get the aged boomer in here and see what he's sipping on. How you doing, my friend? What are you sipping on?
I have a Sioux City sarsaparilla in the glass bottle. That's why I had to get up before the stream. Those aren't twist-off caps on these things.
Nope. You gotta. Yeah, absolutely.
And I did change my visage tonight.
Yeah, I wanted to see what you really look like, and there you are.
There we go. Anyway, I figure we'll be talking about a Six Flags park or two. I don't know if you
possibly,
been to a
very
Six Flags
possibly.
park. All right.
So the first one I'm seeing here is Lady Mist dropping some flowers for me. Lady Mist, welcome. So good to see you. You are much appreciated, my Blue Wrench. And of course, John, JPRPH1, saying hi to everybody. You guys were here early. As was, the Misty Girl, right? Orville Nation, welcome. I know that you were here, and then you went away, and then you came back again. So I'll say hi to you again in a little bit. This clown, getting drunk. Big Al presents. Hope you have a great stream tonight, my friends. Summer vacation was awesome. Yes, I agree it was. And Midnight Madness is the movie over on Big Al Presents tomorrow night. Netter and I will be joining him for it. You saw the promo. You may have seen it on Monday. You definitely saw it just a few minutes ago. I had a few little jokes hidden in there. We can talk about that later on. We'll probably talk about that tomorrow.
You're talking about summer. Monday night, you can actually put on Corvette Summer.
I did not think of Corvette Summer. I actually have two movies planned out. One Crazy Summer and Summer School. I actually have the thumbnail made up. I just didn't get a chance to put the stream up yet. So those are the films for Monday night at the movies. Hail Connie Cleary, the bird woman of YouTube. Welcome. And also a valued Blue Wrench. Hail also to Tim. Excuse me while I whip this out. Yeah, that was a couple weeks back, but that's fair enough. That is fair enough.
Remember the sorcerer named Tim in Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
Yeah, Tim uses that as
his
as a greeting over in Cosme during the watch parties. Yeah. Looking forward to some 80s wackiness. Yeah, I guess it was 80s, right? Feels kind of 70s, but yeah, early 80s does feel kind of 70s.
It kind of conflates a little bit at the turn of the decade, doesn't it?
There isn't a hard cutoff, I mean, decades tend to smooth into each other like colors on a rainbow.
I felt 80s was harder than most, but even still, when you got a movie in 80, it still had a 70s vibe because it was filmed in 79, so.
No, that's a good point. That's absolutely true. And Putin's cat. Welcome, Pootie. Someone explain to me how 16 Candles is rated PG. I will tell you how a lot of movies were rated PG and shouldn't have been. Or from our standpoint and sensibilities. For a long time, there was no PG-13. PG-13 didn't come along until, the mid-80s? Mid to late 80s? It was PG or R. And if it wasn't bad enough to be R, it was PG. So here's a few movies that were PG. Gremlins, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Airplane, which absolutely included some upper breasticle nudity.
Whoa.
Yep.
You have to remember, too, PG stood for parental guidance suggested.
Right, there was an idea that parents could decide, no, this isn't appropriate for my kid, or fuck it, I don't care if he sees some boobs. Poltergeist was PG. Jaws was PG. All of these films probably would be at least PG-13, if not R now. So it was really Gremlins and Indiana Jones that brought about the push for another rating, which was PG-13. it's still basically PG, but they're saying under 13, not admitted without parent or guardian. R was under 17, not admitted without parent or guardian. Where do you go from R? They had an X rating. X rating, not to be confused with triple X, which was not an MPAA rating. That was just porn, right? X rating was, there was stuff in there that was not appropriate even for an R rating. So everyone, no one under 18 was admitted, and it was highly suggested that maybe you didn't want to go see it. People, the film industry would avoid the X rating. They'd cut whatever they had to cut to get the R rating. Otherwise, it would just die in the theaters. Anyway, kind of a little bit of a sidetrack there, but, John, JPRPH1, welcome, my friend. Matanui, always good to see ya. Stay as long as you can. I super appreciate you. See, it's starting to give me a little hiccups there. David Pensek, thank God it's Friday, and Last Call with Troy Pacelli is the place to be. Drink 'em if you got 'em. Absolutely. Inebriation is suggested. Let's see here.
And expected.
Yeah, well, it is encouraged unless, you are the type to abstain. See, I'm a teetotaler. I'm having a Long Island iced tea. This may become a favorite drink of mine just so I can make that joke. Keely Chow, haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you, my friend. Welcome. And, of course, Deleted Scenes. Hail. I have returned from the woods unkilled. There you go. We will be hanging out with Deleted Scenes. Netter and I will be on Sunday for part 3 of Back to the Future, which we watched the first 2 parts of on Monday night at the movies. We will join Deleted Scenes and Jedi Bill for Western Cinema Presents at 3 Central, 4 Eastern on their respective channels. Let's see here. And Sir Torrin Clegane, good evening. Welcome, my friend. And Gorilla Random Thoughts. Hapla! But Big Heck Judge.
I don't know what that is. Can't be good.
He's saying honor and Big Judge. Be honorable and enjoy.
And drink lots
of blood wine, absolutely. Samuel Proctor saying hi to Netter. May have said hi to me, but I missed it. That's fine. You say hi to Netter, you encourage me to. Give me a second. I'm still trying to get caught up. I knew I saw the Clue channel. Sweet tea is your drug. Well, fair enough. Let's see here. Jesse Guajardo. Hey there. Good to see you, my friend. Mark Melnikov. Hapla. It's an orgy of liquor in a glass. That's exactly what this is. Yeah, it's starting to hit me. It's starting to feel pretty good, let me tell you. Yes, he is the Six Flags man, and he will be talking about Six Flags in just a minute, that aged boomer guy.
Well, not in a minute. We have other things to cover first. One thing at a time. There's a progression here.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm just going through quickly to make sure that I don't miss anybody. I think I am caught up. Oh, Curtis Selby. Welcome, my friend. Good to see you. And if I missed anybody, T is for Troy. I like that. That's a good point. I'm going to have to play around with it a little bit, make sure I get to something that I really, really like. But boy, liquor forward. I mean, there's a good, it calls for a half ounce of everything. There's actually 2 ounces of everything in here, so this is a quadruple. It's gonna be a stream, my friends. Let me tell you. little discouraged this week. You guys know that I've been paying close attention to the watch hours, and what a lot of people don't realize when we talk about watch hours, it's not just an adding game. Every week you get more and more watch hours. It's how many watch hours have you had in the past year? So for every day that I gain watch hours, there's a day at the beginning of the 365 days that drops off. So I am now at that point where I'm losing days, gaining days. It's getting to be a push. It really is. And in about 2 weeks, I'm going to lose a pretty big average maker. It'll be more than a year since the I think it was the Indiana Jones stream with retro blasting, which gave me a lot of watch hours. So I'm gonna have to really step it up. I think I gotta, and I know PJ's there. Like Troy, I keep telling you, get some standalone videos put up. I know, but I also work full time too. So it's
whereas I just hit 2,000 watch hours.
Well,
I'm only 1,000 behind you.
There you go.
Well, like I said, tonight's conversation will be in segments if you ever want to clip it.
Absolutely. Well, that's actually, I really ought to start doing that more. You're right.
It's hard. I need to be doing it more too, obviously. But yeah.
Obviously, yeah. So
maybe after.
So you have to hope
library thing.
You are getting more watch hours than you did last year. See, that's the thing. That's why I added the Monday night at the movies, and started subscribing to StreamYards so that I could share the stream with Aged Boomer and Netter, because you're casting a wider net that way, getting more watch hours that way as well. Welcome, Logical Spark. Hey, what's up? We're just about to get into our chit chat. We've been saying hi to everybody, doing a little commiserating, a little bit of drinking, having my Long Island iced tea here, and we are going to start talking about some of our favorite summer memories. Now, this topic was suggested by Aged Boomer, and it's pretty timely because we are pretty much getting into the summer.
In southern states, they're out of school already.
Are they really?
The northern states. The northern states are different. I knew this because I got screwed one summer because I left New Jersey when we moved, so I got out in June, and then I had to go to school in August.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Because it starts earlier. It starts like 2 weeks earlier in the South.
Well,
the North, it's after Labor Day.
I'll tell you, it's funny because only during your childhood do you think that way, right? Because once you hit adult, unless you are a school teacher, you pretty much work all year round. That's the way it goes. Or unless you are so independently wealthy, you live a life of leisure. How many of us is that? None of us here.
And these are not the leisure summer vacations of the wealthy that we're going to be talking about here.
Absolutely not. These are the working class.
Yes.
The kind that you saw in all the movies.
Exactly. When Hollywood understood who America was, or what America was.
Well, and the movie makers mostly came from
they
middle
did.
America.
They at least were around people like that, so they grew up and they understood. Whereas now it's just they're way out of touch. But we'll get into that in a minute. Okay.
Yeah. So that's just it. This is their last summer, right? Before they got to become adults, or maybe they're going off to university to have their brains melted. But, I mean, yeah. Oh, are we, is there something wrong? Are we not coming through clearly, or did we do something wrong, Curtis? Give us feedback. Everything's sounding good on my end. Boomer sounds good to me. Nobody said anything about how I was sounding. Let me know if...
You sound good, because I can hear you perfectly in my ears.
He says you got it, so maybe it's okay.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I don't know. All right, so you want to go ahead and hop to it. It would be School A, summer vacation. No fanfare. Let's move along.
Yeah, I don't know if I picked the right one or not, but there you go.
Do any of these pictures look familiar to you, Troy?
It really does. I mean, obviously this isn't.
Isn't Troy the kid in the front?
It could very well be, right? Let me tell you something. So you're seeing a lot of long hair. You can't tell the difference between the boys and the girls at this age, for F's sake.
Well, you can, because the boys still look like boys.
Anyway.
Yeah.
That's no raising fists. Of course, so is the girl to the right there. But
and the short ties were very common on the teachers back then. I never really understood that. They all looked like
short,
Otis
fat ties.
from. Yeah, very wide ties. That's true.
I almost think it was it might have been to differentiate themselves from the kids. It's like I'm not your buddy, I'm the adult here. That could have been why the styles were so different.
True.
Think about it.
True.
I know that when I had to teach as a professor at a university, I'm not going to say which one, but they made a point that at least because I was a student. I mean, I was still in school when I was doing the teaching, but they made a point to us. Make sure you come to class. Where's the teacher? You're dressed. You don't want to be in a jeans and a t-shirt because you want to differentiate yourself from the students. And that it actually counted double for the young women teaching too. You really had to look professional if you were a young woman, even now when you're teaching, because you need to separate yourself from the student. So that could have been why.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I feel like, look. I'm going to sound like an old geezer here, but, that's what we do here, right? I do feel like they always say dress for the job that you want, not the job that you're in and whatnot. The way you dress sets your mind, right? And actors talk about this all the time. When they get in costume and stuff, they become their character just because of the way they're dressed, the way they're presenting themselves. It's all part of the getting in character. And if you dress professional, you will be professional. If the kids are dressed casual and you're dressed professional, that keeps a distance between you. And I really do feel like as the kids get older, as you get into high school and the teachers are younger because they're just starting out and the dress code is, all higgledy-piggledy, then you start hearing about all these scandals about, what's been happening between teachers and students, and it's like, oh gosh, there was, yeah. And look, it's not anything new. This stuff always happened. It's just, I do feel like keeping that separation definitely helped.
Notice, I think one thing here, I think the teachers also smile. I think it's the one time you see both the teachers and the students smiling at the same time because they're rid of each other for the summer. So,
and this is absolutely grade school, right? I'll be honest with you. Oh my gosh. Do you have any idea what school that is?
No. Do you?
I don't know for certain. Mm-hmm. But given where the parking lot is, the layout of that, what I can see of the school, this could very easily be the grade school that I went to. This could very easily be St. Louis de Marillac in LaGrange Park, Illinois. Was it LaGrange Park or LaGrange? Whatever, Illinois.
I don't know.
No, they're right next to each other, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, it was a Catholic grade school, and if this was my school, you walk straight through that door there, and you'd be in the main office.
Oh, Jesse Garado says, I think, Troy, from my personal experience from my first through third grade, I only had one day for myself. In the summer, I only had a couple weeks for myself. Well, yeah.
We're going to talk about how you spent your summers, because some of us got summer jobs, which actually...
You could get a job as a kid back then. Maybe
you absolutely could. They were always part-time.
Like for a while, it was hard for teens.
The idea was to teach you responsibility and make some pocket change.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, every job I had as a kid, I loved. That was part of the great memories for me, to be honest with you.
I should have put that in here, summer jobs, and maybe we'll talk about that at some point. Maybe when we get to the parks and stuff, those were summer jobs, right? So we can talk about that.
Yeah.
But do you have any last school memories, final day of school memories? It's a blur for me. I remember the teachers tended to be better on the last day of school. As long as you're behaved, you might do something fun.
True. Because they were getting ready to check out,
They're getting ready. Let's play. I think I learned how to play Hangman. I remember that. I learned how to play Hangman on the last day of school.
Oh, that's fair. Netter?
Yeah, that was.
I remember blasting Alice Cooper's School's Out.
School is out. Yeah, for the summer.
We'd be on the city bus blasting that. And the bus driver would be rolling his eyes like, again? Because
Now,
they're doing
by
it
the
over
way,
and
if
over.
you're a big Alice Cooper fan, one of the most recent waves of Mego figures, they got the license to do an Alice Cooper figure. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, and Mego isn't a terribly expensive figure to get, so you might want to pick that up. Or if you know somebody that is a dear friend of yours that hasn't blocked you on social media, maybe pick one up for him. Just saying. But those hallways, I swear, especially in black and white, every school looked identical. That could be the high school from Twin Peaks. That could be my high school.
Well, I've heard it said, and I don't know if this is true, that the schools were set up to resemble factories. And with the bells, to get kids used to, you might get a factory job one day, and this is to get them used to working in a factory. How like the drills go off, and there are these long corridors. I don't know how much.
Which seems pretty insidious until you think we've driven all of our factory work out of the country.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird we're still holding on to this. I don't know if schools are like this in other countries. If we have anyone from overseas in the chat.
Because it's tradition. We don't remember where it came from. We just keep doing what we always did.
Now, maybe for those of us in the chat from other countries, they may wonder, what is this summer vacation thing, and why do American students get it? Because...
Well, I'm not even sure that the history is on point.
I was told it was because of the farms.
Yeah, but they blame the farmers for everything. They blame the farmers for daylight savings time, and the farmers all say that's bullshit.
Yeah, my cow doesn't care what time it is.
Yeah, my cows and chickens can't tell time. The rooster still crows at dawn, regardless of whether that's 4 or 5 in the morning.
I will say this, though. Are you less likely to pay attention during the heat? But I live in Florida, and it's kind of hot here a lot.
That's probably the biggest part of it, because I'm old enough to remember a time... It wasn't a time before air conditioning. It did exist, but not all of the schools had air conditioning.
Mine didn't.
No, yeah, I went to a Catholic grade school, and they were constantly trying to raise money
for air conditioning.
For an air conditioner for the schools.
Now here's the thing. I don't know if either of you had this, but I went to a couple of schools where they had the main building for the school, but then on the property they also had like these trailers for other classes. And like in grade school, I was in one of those trailers. So we had air conditioning, we had heat. It was nice. The only bad part is we had to leave there to go to the main building for lunch. So no matter what the weather, we either got soaked, freezing, whatever.
Yeah, you told me about that. Your school was kind of overpopulated. They
called them mobile units. Well, the high school next door used to have them for the longest time.
But ironically, despite the fact that we have more kids per capita, the school attendance is going down and down. Gee, I wonder why. But we'll save that for another topic. My first through third, I spent my Sundays going to Sunday school during the school year. My summer vacations were spent in school, either because my grades weren't good, or part two. I went to Sunday school for a whole week during the summer. So,
I see. So it's like a Bible camp sort of thing, maybe? I know they have those at some churches.
Absolutely. I went to a Catholic grade school, so there was no Sunday school for me because religion class was
right. Because when you go to a Catholic school, you have to because I had a similar thing. With me, it was I went to public school at least before I went for my confirmation, so I had to go to the class at the church as opposed to having the Catholic school take care of
my
that.
My mother was of the opinion that I would get a better education at a parochial school. Don't know if that's true or not. The public school that we had in Brookfield was actually pretty good. Ironically called Gross because the person that it was named after was Gross.
Here's what I've learned. You have good public schools and bad public schools. You have good private schools and you have bad private schools. It just depends.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the thing. Because trust me, I have enough horror stories at the one high school I went to.
I will say that I had a good education. I don't know. I knew kids that went to the public school, but I went to parochial school, Catholic school, had church every Wednesday. Wednesday was, so religion class was the last class of the day. And on Wednesdays, we wouldn't have religion class. We would go to Mass on Wednesdays. Just the way it was.
Interesting.
And we would be released directly from church. What was my point about that? Anyway, it was a good education.
Yeah.
So yes, we did have nuns, and some of them were old school nuns. You know, I remember Sister Crescentine, Sister Julita. Sister Julianne was a sweetheart. She really was. And Sister Bernadette, boy, if she wasn't a nun, she would have been distracting to me. Let me tell you.
Oh,
she was. She had just taken her vows the year that I started there. But beautiful woman, very young. Sister Crescentine, Sister Julita, they were biker nuns. You know, I'm pretty sure Sister Crescentine had a tattoo on her forearm that said "Born to Raise Lazarus." You know, I still flinch when somebody hands me a ruler. Let me tell you. No, Sister Crescentine. Okay, so I wasn't always bald. As a kid, I had hair, and she'd grab me by the tuft of hair, and tug it to get me to listen, right? Sometimes she'd grab my ear, but sometimes she'd grab that tuft of hair. It's like,
it's weird. I remember back to my religion classes because I went to a Catholic high school for 2 years, and the first one was taught by a nun, Sister Agnes Lucy. The second year actually was not taught by a nun, and the professor and the teacher was a Protestant, which I thought was interesting. Yeah. And I understand why the school did this, because the school said we're mainly doing Old Testament for the religious education classes, and they figure we're going to be having people of different faiths here. We even had some Muslim students in the school, so the idea was you can bring your own holy book into class. So if it was a King James Bible.
Yeah, we didn't have any Muslim,
like
but I'll touch on that in a second.
It was mainly touching on the Old Testament anyway, so yeah.
Well, we our religion classes, and see, there was kind of an expectation in a Catholic school that religion permeated, right? So
right.
you could ask questions at any time, especially with the nuns, right?
Right.
I realized very early on that my education with the nuns was very different than my mom's was with the nuns. She struggled with asking the nuns questions and getting answers like, well, that's just our faith. We just believe it.
Whereas I figured out there's one question you should never ask your religion teacher because for whatever reason it really ticks them off.
Really?
Yeah. If God made us, who made God? I could never get an answer for that. It's like, and they're like, he's always existed. I'm like, but he had to come from somewhere. Where did he come from? And I could never get an answer. I got detention for that.
That's very funny because I had a nun.
They should have answers for you. And
Sister Julita, my first grade teacher. I was young at the time, first grade teacher. Somebody asked that question, not me. I wasn't the smart ass back then. Asked that exact question. If God made us, who made God? She said that God always was. Well, he had to come from somewhere. She didn't respond. She just picked up her chalk, went to the board, drew a circle on the board. And she said, "Where's the beginning of this circle?"
Ah.
Okay.
Good answer.
Exactly. She said, God always was. He has no beginning and no end. He is the Alpha and the Omega. And when I heard that, I was pretty impressed. That was my first experience with the idea of nonlinear thought. The abstract. You
also had more intelligent teachers than I did because mine just was like, acting like I committed some cardinal sin. And put
By
me in
asking the question, yeah.
So I got
No.
detention for it.
I had nuns who...
Nothing wrong with asking a question.
I had nuns, if they didn't know the answer, they would say, I don't know the answer to that question. You should ask Father so-and-so. And I would go and ask the priest. And honestly,
You would say, ask the... No, I'm
the
kidding.
priest would always have a decent answer for
Okay,
me.
that's good.
I was blown away by this. So, for example, okay, we're getting a little Catholic here on you folks. Like I said, I still have Catholic flashbacks, so I'm sharing my trauma with all of you guys. I asked the priest, you see these icons, right, of the cross, whether it's your rosary or whatever, or even the cross that was hanging up in the front of the church. Christ is hanging on the cross, and above him there is this etching that says INRI. And I asked the priest, what is that? And the priest had this look like, in retrospect, I know what he was thinking. He's like, oh crap. How do I answer this question for a kid to understand?
I know what it means.
I know you do.
Yes.
He said, okay, I'm going to answer your question simply, and then I'm going to explain it to you. He says, you have to understand that this was written in Latin. It wasn't written in English. So those letters aren't the same, okay? He said the Romans had this thing, they confused their I's and their J's. It was a simple way to explain Latin to a child. He said, and it's not the whole word, it's an abbreviation.
Right.
He said, you know what, I'll tell you exactly what it means. And he said it in Latin. I don't remember to this day what it says. Right? He says what it translates to is Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews.
Probably meant as a mocking thing, I would expect.
Well, he didn't go into that aspect of it. He literally
exactly
just was answering my question. And I'll be honest with you, that really resonated with me. It's like, wow, he took the time to answer my question, and he was right. As I got into, high school and college, and I started to learn some Latin, and I started to understand language in general, I was like, man, he really answered my question. That's pretty cool,
I know the bad joke version of what it stands for, which I won't say because it's probably blasphemous. So,
well, you're half a country away from me. If you get hit by lightning, it doesn't.
Anyway, but I'm just saying. I mean,
he'll be off the stream, and we'll just continue on without him.
Probably disrespectful. Anyway.
No, because the fact is, I can go through his slides myself. I don't need him.
Go to the next slide. We're talking about the bicycle.
No, wait. As long as we're on this slide, you didn't actually...
Like the slide? You like the janitor cleaning up?
I do.
Last year.
This is, again, this is probably grade school, right?
White looks old, right?
High school, the last day in high school, right? The poor janitors, oh God, I look back and I just feel so bad. I never did this. I honestly didn't. I was a good kid. Your senior class in high school would clean out their lockers by dumping everything all over the floor. All their papers, all their crap that they didn't need, they just throw it all over the floor. It was just tradition. And then the poor janitor had to clean all this shit up. I didn't do any of that.
Right.
And as I was leaving for the day, I saw the janitor starting to clean up, and I'm like, I swear none of this is mine. He goes, it's just what I do every year. And I'm like, maybe, if you could talk them into putting like garbage cans out last day of school, some of us would just throw our stuff away.
Like a big garbage pail, they might.
Yeah. Said it wouldn't necessarily get everybody. He's like, I appreciate the thought. Thanks, kid.
See, now, our school, we had garbage cans around, and there'd be teachers watching clean our lockers. You threw your stuff on the floor, like, pick that up.
We had the same thing, but let me tell you something. I'm really shocked that I never got, again, I'm talking high school here, I never got called on the carpet for what I had hanging up in my locker.
What? What'd you have hanging up in your locker?
Well, okay, so I went to a Catholic grade school, but I went to a public high school, so I could get away with considerably more.
More in the public high school.
Yeah, I had, inside my locker, I had.
Playboy bunnies?
No, I didn't have anything from Playboy. I wanted to put up a centerfold. My mom said, "Yeah, probably not a great idea." So I had a lot of pictures from the SI swimsuit issue.
Sports Illustrated, right?
Yep, and technically, it's uncouth, but no teacher really said anything about it. Although among all the bikini models, I had a picture of Pat Nixon. I've always been a conservative.
Funny. Yeah, because she was hot.
No, she was intellectually stimulating.
Well, you can be both.
My high school seminary teacher, on the other hand, was such a strong personality that I don't remember a single thing he taught. He would ramble about all kinds. Yeah, teaching is a skill, right? There's certain teachers that you remember because they really got good messages across. You have other teachers that you just remember for droning. And then
you got to be careful. Yeah, you got to be careful with teaching and presentations.
And then there was some teachers like the ones I had in high school, like Ms. Dilly and Ms. Pageant, who I don't remember much about their classes. I was a little distracted. Just saying.
For me, oddly enough, it was a semester at community college. We had a very nice looking statistics teacher. She was nice looking. She was married, of course. But anyway,
one of these days, maybe I should do a talk about the deep state and how prior to Nixon, people would get pew-pewed. But then they realized people were starting to catch on, so Nixon got his public persona assassinated instead of his himself personally. Although there's also some speculation about why Ronald Reagan got shot. Yeah,
that's a whole
nother talk. But,
that's that show The Americans was great. The one about the Russian spies posing as Americans in the 80s. There's a whole episode about when Reagan gets shot, and they're all panicking because they think it was someone on the Soviet side that did it. And they're like in DEFCON 4 because the Russian spies are like they're thinking.
Well, that's a great way.
Why didn't they tell us about this? We needed to be warned.
If the deep state wants us to go to war, that's a great way to push us towards it. But I believe it was a deep state thing. They were trying to take him out, and when they failed, they were like, "We won't miss the next time." Never had an opportunity to use a school locker, given the fact that the school I went to was permanently locked. They permanently locked the lockers in every building due to bad kids doing stupid things. They
stuffed some kid in a locker and he died or something. That's what I'm thinking.
No, see, our lockers weren't big enough to squeeze somebody into because they were like double-decker type deals.
I can get into one of those lockers.
Well, yes, you could. Little people could, but no, I absolutely couldn't. And believe me, I tried. Just for fun, but I couldn't get into the locker. But we only had 15 minutes to get from class to class, and if you had a class across campus, you did not have a lot of time to get to your locker.
That would happen. No, that would happen. You'd have a class on the other side of the building. You got to book it. In fact, I would sometimes have to figure out which books I had to put in my book.
It was strategy, yeah. Sometimes you would have to choose
you'd be late for
classes for 2 and 3 classes. You'd hit those classes. Now I can hit my locker, dump these, and grab what I need for the afternoon or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna have a nightmare about this tonight. Thank you for getting these memories.
But anyway, so this picture here, it just makes me think of that
janitor.
So in grade school, though. Let me tell you something. The janitor, it was Mr. McLean at our school. He was he was first generation Irish. Very almost stereotypical, right? He was the janitor. He was a deacon in the church. And he was the PE teacher. So he's the one who taught us calisthenics.
Really? So he's also the PE teacher. That's interesting.
So,
yeah.
and you know what? His primary, the warm-up, I didn't realize it was a warm-up. I thought this was fucking torture. But every class, he had a record player. And he would play Robert Preston's Chicken Fat. Look it up on YouTube. It's music to do calisthenics to. Commissioned by the Department of Education. Robert Preston was Sir Torin knows who Robert Preston was. A lot of you guys that know your theater know who Robert Preston was. He was the Music Man, and yes, and oh fuck, I remember the calisthenics, and they hurt. They hurt bad. And then when that was over, he made us do the Dead Cockroach. The Dead Cockroach was the 1970s version of planks, if you know what planks are.
No.
It was just reversed. You'd lie on your back with your arms and legs up in the air, like a dead cockroach, right? Sounds easy, right? Try it sometime. Your arms and legs start to hurt bad very quickly, let me tell you. And if you weren't keeping them straight and rigid, he would come around and lean on you, and you had to hold him up. I don't know for sure, but I suspect he was probably in the military. But you know what was even worse? I dated his daughter.
No.
My first girlfriend was Kathy McLean, and yeah, it was. You want to know basically what she looked like? Melissa Gilbert. Think Melissa Gilbert. Okay, she resembled a great deal. Went to a lot of sock hops with her. I know, sock hops, you tend to think 50s, right? But there was this whole retro thing that we were doing, and every year in our grade school, we had these sock hops. You weren't supposed to date, but we did, and I went and picked her up at her house, and Mr. McLean would be like, "Oh, you're taking my daughter out?" I'm like, "Yes, sir. Tell me what time you want her home. Trust me, above board." I was the kind of guy that the parents always loved. Yeah. And unfortunately, the girls didn't care for because I wasn't the bad boy.
You didn't have the motorcycle or the leather jacket.
Right.
I had no interest in you being a bad boy.
That's because we met when we had both grown up. I'm talking about these kids.
Wait. I saw you in geek attire, and you were gorgeous.
That's sweet of you to say. I just think you had bad eyesight, and you've never gotten your eyesight back, and I'm glad. And you're still alive. Yes, exactly.
See,
that was the thing. Mr. McLean really liked me, and it was partly because I told him I was half Irish. I've told you guys, right? My dad was Irish. My mom was Italian.
Right.
Don't know if I was really Irish. It was really redneck. But I said my dad's Irish. He's like, "Oh, okay. Well,
sometimes it's the same thing." No, I'm kidding. Actually,
and I told him when I went to pick her up for the first sock hop, I sat and talked with him. It was the first time I'd really had a lot of time to talk to him, and I said, my dad says he's Irish, but he's a couple generations removed. I said, I've lost all the culture. And he was just glad to talk about Irish culture and this and that.
Now, Boomer, you know what? I'd be Irish.
He did. He had a very slight Irish accent.
I was thinking of other heritage I have, which some might have labeled as that, but it's...
We haven't even gotten to the summer vacation part, but let me tell you something. I had such a crush on Kathleen. Her name was Kathleen.
Okay.
During the summer vacation, I used to call her on a weekly basis, and she was never home. But, that's one of my summer memories.
I did have a point, though, to take off what they were saying about the hillbilly. I think we all have a little bit of hillbilly in all of us, or redneck, or whatever. And I think maybe that's what the whole draw, things like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre with the evil hillbilly, because you're thinking, oh, we're not that, but maybe deep down.
The whole Appalachian culture and stuff.
There's a bit of that. The Appalachians, I have to tell you something. I'll never pick on the Appalachian people. The Scottish.
Those people don't need fucking society to survive.
Not only that, but a lot of our colloquialisms that are very American, like needle in a haystacks, things like that.
Sure.
You look like something that the cat drug in and the dog wouldn't eat. You know, that's all from the Appalachian. That's all.
Troy was Eddie Haskell. I was pretty genuine though. I wasn't faking it. I think that Mr. McLean would have been able to see through me if I was. Welcome, Sashi. Welcome. Yeah,
welcome,
it's
Sashi.
Always summer down here. Yeah. You live a little closer in the middle of the earth, don't you? Where it's warmer all the time.
Of course. Well, like I said, it exists everywhere. I'm just saying. But anyway,
even we Mexicans have rednecks. Look, we're not allowed to talk about these cultural things, but if we're honest with ourselves,
it's the last thing, and we want to say I'm not part of that.
There is,
I'm better than that. That's what it is.
We do these kind of insensitive generalizations, but if we're really honest with ourselves, those exist for a reason. You look at Speedy Gonzalez, right? Epa, Andre. But he had a cousin, right? Named Slowpoke Rodriguez. And, it was funny and whatnot. And yeah, you could definitely draw some within Mexican culture, cultural divides, right?
Yeah, they're everywhere in every group.
Italians have the same thing. Boy,
yeah.
Boy, let me tell you something. You any Italians in the chat here? Tell me you're Sicilian and claim to be Italian.
Oh yeah.
We'll get into it. Let me tell you.
They would bring that up on The Sopranos sometimes. The class.
My mom does that to this day. Oh, I'm Italian. I'm Sicilian, and my mom will go, "Oh, I'm sorry." With people she's dear friends with, she'll fuck with them that way. Absolutely.
All right. So now it's time to talk about summer. Did you have a bicycle, Troy? Were you lucky enough as a kid to have a bicycle?
Yep, I had a bike very similar to this.
Banana seat?
It had we installed a banana seat very quickly because the other one was very, very uncomfortable. And it wasn't exactly like these.
Yeah, those are big-looking seats. The banana seats that all the other kids had that I didn't have were much more streamlined and a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, that's the kind that I had. That was an aftermodel add-on. Mine also came with training wheels, so I didn't have a kickstand. So we had to add the kickstand when I removed the training wheels.
I remember those.
And my bike, okay, I don't know how many people in the chat would know the difference. There was a difference between boys' bikes and girls' bikes. Do you know the difference?
I do.
It's been a long time, but I did remember there was a difference.
So look at the blue bike at the front of this picture, right? It's got these bars. It's got 3 bars, right? It's got that top bar, it's got that middle bar, and then it's got this low slung bar. Girls' bikes didn't have those upper bars. It only had the low slung. This is a carryover from the Victorian, Civil War era when girls wore skirts, right? So on horses, the girls rode side saddle. On bikes, they had that cutout, right? This scoop so that they could get their skirts in to ride the bike. My bike was basically a girl's bike with this add-on bar to say this is really a boy's bike, even though it had no structural support whatsoever. And everyone would look at it and go, "You really have a girl's bike."
Okay, so you had a bike with training wheels and all that. Mm-hmm. I learned how to ride on a 3-speed.
Oh, see, yeah, I didn't get
and it was a boy's 3-speed because it was my brother's hand-me-down.
My bike didn't even have. Okay, so you see on the handlebars, you've got these squeezy brakes, right? I didn't have that. I had a single speed, and the way you would brake was you're pedaling, right? You're pedaling, and then you'd reverse.
Yeah, that's how I did it.
Yeah, see, you had one of those.
Oh, but do they have speeds? You mean the handlebars that have the grips on them? Was that also a brake?
I didn't have that on my original bike.
I think I had both. I think my first bike didn't have that and I had to do the reverse. All right, so let me tell you my little story of having to learn how to ride a bike. I had this thing called a tricycle once, right?
Okay, yeah.
I loved the tricycle as a kid. Had 3 wheels.
Sure, I had one of those too.
Loved it. No, you're getting too old for the tricycle. You got to ride a bike. So I think mine even had like training wheels on it, like yours did. And then eventually the training wheels have to come off. And I think my dad was behind me, and of course, what he would do is he would hold on to the back of the banana seat or whatever with his hand. Right? Pedaling, and then I was pedaling, and then I'm pedaling, and then I'm pedaling, and then I hear from the background, "You're doing great. Turn around." My dad's not holding the banana seat, and I, of course, fall right over and crash. This never works, and I know I'm not the only one with this story.
No, you are telling the exact same story I could have told.
100 other kids or thousands, maybe millions of kids have. Listen to me. This doesn't work. I know it's to build confidence. I think they're thinking it's going to be like the birdie trying to fly, like, oh, I'm flying, or no, that doesn't happen. You turn around and you see no one's holding you. I think I eventually picked myself up, and
I'm kind of getting ahead of our story with the summer thing. So yeah, my uncle taught me how to ride a bike, right? Exactly the way you described.
Yep.
Take his story, substitute me and my uncle, it was the same story.
Yeah.
Falling over the whole thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I got a little bit older, I was spending my summers in Mansfield, Ohio. That uncle that taught me how to ride a bike co-owned a marina. And I used to go out there, spend the summers with him. I'd work at the marina. Great memories. Maybe I'll tell it in the back half of the stream. But when he got married, he married a gal who already had a son. She'd been married previously. His name was Nathan, and I was just at the right age. I was in my teen years, and hanging out with him a lot. Kind of being like a big brother type of thing. My uncle's working, and I said I will help him learn to ride a bike. I didn't say I'd teach him to ride a bike. I said I'd help him. And I did something very, very different. I said, okay, Nathan, he had the training wheels. No. I take that back. He did not have training wheels.
Right.
My uncle wanted him to learn without the training wheels. I said, I want you, and I would hold the bike from the front. He wasn't even moving. And I'm like, I want you to try to practice balancing, right? And he'd try to, and I'd let go, and then I'd catch him. And I'd let go, and I'd catch him. And he's like, I'm never going to be able to do this. I said, don't worry. I said, I know it feels like you're going to fall over because you're not moving. But once you start moving, the bike kind of wants to stay up on its own, okay? And I'll run around a few times with you, and then when you know that you're feeling good about it, I'm going to let go, and I'm going to tell you I'm letting go. Dude, let me tell you, this method that we came up with, I had him riding a bike by the end of that summer.
Huh.
He's like, yes, you're absolutely right. When we're moving, it's a lot easier. And then I said, okay, I can't keep up with you. You're going too fast. I'm going to let you go. If you feel like you're going to fall, go ahead and brake and then catch yourself. Because I had him doing that from the still position. I'd say, okay, now just catch yourself. Now just catch yourself. I said, now what you're going to do is brake and catch yourself. And he did. And he's like, I did it. And he knew how to ride a bike from there on.
So that's the Pacelli method.
Well, it became my yeah. I don't even know if he even remembers that, but
Someone in the chat mentioned fall. It's worse to fall over the handlebars. Guess how high. Guess
dude, my second bike was a 12-speed, and I used to ride it to school every day, and and it was a little bit big for me because my mom's idea was you'll grow into it. She wanted to buy. She didn't want to spend more money on more bikes, right? So it was a little bit big for me. And I was riding the bike to a friend's house. It was after school. And I was clipping along at a pretty good speed, and a car honked behind me, and I looked back to see what was going on. And when I turned back to see where I was going, I was coming up on one of those big boulders that they have that they have at the edge of the sidewalk where to keep, and I hit it full on, went over my handlebars, landed on the pavement, bent the front fork back, so I couldn't and I had to walk my bike to my buddy's house. My knee was bleeding. It was a mess. Yeah.
This is why the kids started wearing helmets, I guess, later on, right? that was a thing.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I didn't hit my head, but boy, I learned a lesson there.
I think I was just old enough that they weren't forcing the helmet thing on when I was riding my bike. Of course, I kind of got out of it because I was never big on bike riding, but you did it because the other kids were doing it. I think when I got I had more of a stunt bike that was like a birthday present one year, but it was annoying because, for starters, I lived in a suburban area, but it was very city-like. So you couldn't just ride through the streets because you're going to get hit by a car. In fact, I witnessed that happening once. A neighbor of mine and myself were sitting up in the tree on my property looking off, and the neighbor was driving, and then a guy, of course, rode across the sidewalk. Now, granted, it was probably her fault because she should have been paying attention, looking, but it hit him dead on. He bounced right off over the roof of her car.
Yeah. Let me tell you,
he survived, I think, but it was just it was.
When I got that 12-speed when I went into high school, I'll tell you something. I would take that bike early in the morning. I would fill a backpack with whatever I felt I needed and a snack or whatever,
or a sandwich or something,
and I was gone for the day. And I would ride. I would ride the bike paths, and I'd go visit my friends, get to their house. They didn't know I was going to come by and knock. Hey, is Michael home? No? Okay, I'm going over to David's house. And yeah. And sometimes, I'm going to David's, let him know that's where I'll be, if we want to get together. And, that's how we'd hook up or not, whatever. And I wouldn't come back until the sun was going down. The lights come on, you need to be home.
There's a funny early Peanuts comic strip with Charlie Brown going by, and this is before the usual Peanuts crew. It was Charlie Brown going by to some girl's house. It's like, is Rachel home or something, he says, and then Rachel pops through the window and says, Rachel's not home. Or we don't have to be all loud about it. And he leaves not understanding, that's Rachel who told you she's not here. It's like, it was, never mind. I guess it's not as funny when I repeat.
Wow, yeah, I never got hit by a car. I was pretty careful.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But, the bike was the, and I'll tell you, when Return of the Jedi came out, I used to imagine my bike was one of those speeder bikes from Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I think I might have done the same thing. Yeah.
And I'd start thinking about how could I put, bars on the front with fins, and, I was already thinking through, making props and stuff like that.
I don't know if I thought of it as a speeder bike, but that would have been neat, actually. I forgot if I thought of it as anything. I don't think I did. I think I just saw it as a bike.
Well, it was.
I didn't even have the ET fantasy of flying. That didn't even occur when I was.
Let me tell you, it was freedom, right? It was your vehicle, and you could go anywhere. Look, it wasn't just in my town. I would ride in from. I lived in Brookfield. I went to school every morning on that bike in LaGrange. I'd go to Hillside. I'd visit friends all around the place. Yeah, Westchester. You know?
What do I remember though? I remember though they used to have, this was early on, I think they have them out, like miniature cars that were like had an actual motor in them and stuff, and you could drive them around as a kid. And I always wanted those. I ain't get one of those, too expensive. Come on.
Yeah.
I always fantasized about having one of those a car an actual kid could sit in and drive around in.
Sure.
Like what's his name? Ricky Schroeder on Silver Spoons would have had something like that, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, anything left on bikes?
No.
The water
Oh,
pistol.
I remember I had one of these. I tried
finding ones from the 70s or at least the 80s.
That's spot on what I had as a kid. These were before you had those super soakers. These were the basic water guns.
At the tail end of my childhood, we did get the super soakers. I remember
the easiest way to fill those was, so that little plug in the back, you'd pull it out. You dunk the whole thing into a pail of water. It would fill up, and then you'd close that valve on the back.
Yep.
And honestly, the trigger mechanism was no different than the squidgy on a spray bottle. It worked the same way. You could even see the mechanism inside. You know, where it would
these are cheap too. You get them for a couple of bucks, right?
Yeah. You get them at the nickel dime store. Yeah.
On vacation, you'd be on vacation and you go into the tourist trap store and you're like, I forgot to bring a water gun. Look, there's one. I'll bring it. Buy it there.
And honestly, you didn't get very wet from these things. It was just a little, So the way you played with these, the rules that we had, the cops and robbers, cowboys, Indians, whatever it was, is if you feel water, you've been shot. And if you get shot in the arm or the leg, you can't use that arm or leg. If you get shot center mass, you go down. That was the rules.
Oh, I don't know if you ever played Fort as a kid. I only got a couple chances to play, but I love playing Fort. Where you'd pretend like you were at a barracks,
and you'd invade the other person's fort and stuff.
And you have the water guns or cap guns another time of the year. I used to love that. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. But I'll tell you, it got to the point where some summers were so hot. It's like, just shoot me. I want to get wet.
Yeah. It got really hot out. I have to tell you, I had a water gun, though. And this, I think I got this, I don't know if it was a Christmas or a birthday present. This thing was lovely.
Yep.
It looked like an automatic machine gun. It had, you would fill up the, what's the holster? The thing that you put the guns in. The bullets in.
Oh, the magazine?
You fill a fake magazine up with water, you plug it in, and it was battery operated. And it was
I had one of those too. It was like a 45.
Like a machine gun, mine. Yeah, and that was cool. And I don't think I got too much use out of it, but that was this was before the Super Soaker came around. They had
it was. I had one of those too.
Water gun. That's what it was. It was an automatic water gun. But I was very impressed with that. I think I didn't abuse it though, because I think the other kids would have started to want to beat me up too much, But
well, I played with it so much the batteries would die.
You're at an advantage.
You're at an advantage till those batteries die. Then you're fucked.
Yeah, and they wouldn't last forever. You're right. But it was that was neat. They couldn't make something like that now. This was colored black. It looks like a miniature machine gun, so they wouldn't.
It does. Yeah. I remember those.
Oh man, water guns though, and Super Soakers came later. I want to say I did have a Super Soaker at one point. All sorts of things.
I didn't have a Super Soaker until my brother got one, and by that time I was a little old for.
That's sort of where I was. I'm a bit younger than you, so I think I got like one summer.
And it really was the kind of thing where we had one, and my mom would be like, "Fill it up, we need to cool off," and I'd shoot her, and then she'd shoot me,
Yeah, Geek Flag. I think I had the Uzi. I think that's the one I had. Yeah.
No, mine was a handgun 45.
Yeah, I had the one that looked like an Uzi because I always thought machine guns were cool too as a kid, but. I had cap guns too, but I played with those all year round. But water guns were for the summer. You don't want to play with those in the winter. Don't be that guy. Right. That might be interesting, but that might be. It made it grinding though. It's supposed to be a machine gun fire. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it was
But,
kind of a zzz.
he used to put ice in my water gun, so that's interesting. It would make the water cooler, I guess, and they would melt as you had it.
Right.
Interesting. But and of course,
Oh
your local
gosh!
park.
Yes, the playgrounds, absolutely.
Playgrounds, yes.
The idea with these was okay. So this was like a merry-go-round type thing, and it really required. You could play with this by yourself, right?
You had to
could
spin it though. And
hold
you had to get
on,
right.
and you'd run, and then you'd jump on it. Wasn't really as good. You wanted a couple people on it and one guy that would spin it as fast as he friggin' could.
Oh, what else was in the park?
Did you ever fly off of one of these things?
I might have. It's been a while. This was I tried to find out. Apparently, this is some state is trying to recreate 70s style parks. So this is a fairly recent picture, but this is what they look like back then.
It's hard to do now because unfortunately they got all these laws and rules.
Of course, everything that's dangerous.
It's like, we'll screw it. Just keep the kid in the house wrapped in bubble wrap and let him play with computers.
On his iPad, and so he'll become some antisocial person later on. But I remember swing sets. I love swing sets.
Yeah.
And you've helped if you had a friend pushing you.
Absolutely.
And I always tried. I always wanted to, and I don't know if this ever happened, but I always wanted so like I would go around all the way around while on the swing. I don't know if I ever quite made it. I would get pretty high.
No, you can't. Yeah,
I don't know. I want to say I did, but I probably couldn't.
Physics say you can't, but every kid tried. Let me tell you, there was this park in Brookfield that I used to go to all the time. I loved that park. I really, really did. And I do remember, I was really young at the time. I was like 8 years old or something. I had this terry cloth Snoopy that I carried with me everywhere. I took it to the park. I forgot it on the swing. And I got halfway home and I started crying because I realized I'd forgotten it. We had to go back. And sure enough, it was just sitting there right at the park.
That's nice.
Because it was late. It was in the evening. Everyone had already gone home. I'm like, I kind of freaked out. But I remember that. And then when I got a little older, there was another park at the corner of Beach and Oak. It was Beach Oak Park. And I'd go there. I was a little older, so it wasn't so much about the merry-go-round, the jungle gym and whatnot. I was starting to get nostalgic, So if there was a day I was kind of on my own, I would just ride to that park, maybe climb to the top of the jungle gym and just sit on top and watch the sun go down or whatever, and it was just whatever, Remember the playground that was next door to a power plant where my dad would work. Let me tell you, there was a lot of playgrounds that were literally right next to the electrical substations for whatever reason, and you could hear them zzz, and you knew you couldn't get too close, or chances are you get zapped.
I heard there's still an intact one near Chernobyl. I'm sorry. I'm not lying either. I think there is one.
No, that is true.
Not that far from
that
the
is
building.
true.
Yes. But or maybe it was a mini amusement park. I don't know. I think they might have had a Ferris wheel or something.
Well, if you can look online, they have footage from the no-go zone in Chernobyl, and it's just creepy. It's like something out of a video game, a post-apocalyptic video game.
For a while, it was like a time capsule. Now it's like a post-apocalyptic.
You remember those slides you used to, when you got older? You wouldn't climb up and slide down. You'd try, going up the slide part.
Of course. But those slides would get hot in the summer if they were metal.
Yes, they would. If you were wearing shorts, they'd burn the bottoms of your legs. Yeah.
Oh, I remember those.
Or
just
you'd
torture.
Get stuck and you'd be squeaking trying to go down.
It would hurt. Yeah.
See, now that memory serves, I think I prefer the park in the fall and in the spring.
I agree with you.
Metal. I don't know if
I agree with you.
In the stark summer here, but maybe they'll bring some. Maybe they'll bring your kid to a park, huh? Might
absolutely
have some fun, see some other kids, make a friend. Come on, it's good. Get them off the iPad or
Yep.
or whatever else you kids are using.
Whatever the electronic doodah is, get them off.
I'm saying this. Of course, Troy and I grew up with electronic doodads too, but I don't think they had quite taken over.
They
our
did
lives.
not hold your attention, though. Right? So the handheld electronic games you
No.
had, they were great
No.
for about 15 minutes, and you were done.
Even computer games,
Yeah.
maybe an hour at best, and then
Yeah.
I would quit for the time. Even if it was like a narrative game, I might play for an hour and then save it. Okay, I'll come back to this later. I wouldn't be on it for like hours, but yeah. I never had one of these or
I
a
didn't
clubhouse.
either.
Did you?
Did not
Did you have a
either.
clubhouse?
But I had, kind of.
Okay.
I had, I guess you could call it.
You always heard about the
clubhouses.
kids with the tree house. It's like I want.
We
one
didn't
of those,
have a
please.
tree house because we didn't really have the kind of trees that would be
Right.
conducive. But in my backyard, we had a little clapboard type, clubhouse. It was kind of cool. It was kind of cool to have my friends over and we'd play out there, and yeah, because it was in your backyard and not like out in the woods or anything, you couldn't really like play war or anything like that. So we actually would play Dungeons and Dragons out there.
Oh, that's
We'd bring
cool.
our books out there, and
No, it's just
Mom
cool.
would bring us some snacks and whatnot.
You got your own space. There'd always be like the "No Girls Allowed" sign, and then like you'd see some girls protesting. And I'm just kidding. I'm just.
I was
saying
just
when
gonna say
came
I
through,
never did that. I'm like, man, if we can get some girls in here, that would be awesome.
The playground was a part of the power company picnic grounds. Okay, that's interesting.
There you
I
go.
always wanted to play house. A lot of us did. I want to say we had some kind of a makeshift clubhouse in our backyard, but I think by the time I was old enough where I could start using it, we didn't have it anymore. Maybe it got taken down. But my
I had
brother
a buddy
built
who had in his front yard he had this big pine tree, and if you know how pine trees grow,
one. Yeah.
the inside is like all dead needles, and you could go in and you could hollow that all out.
Yeah.
And we kind of used it like it was a clubhouse, but it really was just the inside of the pine tree.
Did you ever try building forts in the wintertime? I know we're talking summer vacation, but you could do it out of
I
snow.
did. I had there was this this brick making form that we would get.
Yeah.
You'd plunge it into the snow, and you'd pull out. It would be full
Holy
of snow,
cow.
and then you could make a brick out of it, and we'd make like walls and igloos and things like that out of
I
it.
didn't have anything like that. That would have been awesome. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we could have just piled the snow, and it would have worked just as well.
Well, that's
but-
what I did. Yeah, but I
You
didn't
know,
really
I mean,
do it that way.
And the winter of '79, you didn't even have to build anything. You just had to dig into the snow drift. And yes, I do know that a lot of kids did that, and then it would collapse on them, and it was very, very dangerous. But what we did was we dug it out, and then we would run a hose into the house, and then we spray it all down, and it would freeze.
That's what you needed to do. You needed water to get that.
And there was
apart.
no way that was going to collapse on you. That was solid.
I have to say, did you ever make a fort inside your own house? Like bed sheets or
Yeah,
cardboard or
like
things,
like on the weekend when we were going to watch Svengoolie or whatever,
Yeah.
we'd do like a bunch of pillows and blankets
There
and
you
stuff
go,
to make
yeah.
a little fort to watch the movie, and yeah, we'd do that too.
Okay, cool. So neither you or myself. How about Netter? Did you have a tree house?
No, I always wanted one though, and
Yeah.
my
Every
dad
kid's
had
dream.
gotten a bunch of wood to make a like a little cottage, or you want to call it,
Okay, like a
in the
clubhouse.
backyard.
Okay,
But he never
yeah.
got around to making it. We just had all this
Oh.
wood, and he never did it.
Ugh.
So it's like never got my little house, and we didn't have any trees in our yard, so
Yeah, you guys got to remember, I was enjoying Svengoolie before most of y'all because Svengoolie was a local guy.
Plus, you had the original probably, and then you had Son of Svengoolie.
Yes, way back in the early '70s, it was the original Svengoolie. Then he moved out to California, and Rich Coase took over as the son of Svengoolie for many years. And it was Jerry G. Bishop. who I did not even realize. So here's the interesting thing. Jerry G. Bishop, right? He was the son of Svengoolie. He also owned a magic shop in Riverside that I used to go to all the time. And he had a great shtick. He would show the kids a magic trick, and if you wanted to learn how to do the magic trick, you had to buy the trick, and then he'd show you how it was done. And I bought a bunch of magic tricks off of him. So there's a lot of magic tricks I know how to do just because I literally learned magic from Jerry G. Bishop. Huh. Well, what I didn't know was he was also Svengoolie. You know, when he would run this shop, and then he would go and film the show, and then he'd come back and do. I had no idea they were the same guy. And then when the shop closed up and he moved out of town, and then I saw the son of Svengoolie, and they had the whole in universe story about it. I'm like, so what happened to the original Svengoolie? Oh, Jerry G. Bishop moved to California. I'm like, wait, that's the same guy. It's
funny.
So, yeah, it was funny. So I really knew the original Svengoolie and didn't know it, right? So then Svengoolie he's been a local personality for so long, and then MeWe became Then MeTV became a thing, and then it went national. So all you guys get to enjoy Svengoolie now, but I've been enjoying him since the 70s. Yeah.
Just want to let Jesse Gardo know we are going to get to a jellyfish story later. Don't worry.
Oh, we're going to talk jellyfish. Oh, okay.
We are. He just mentioned he got stung by a jellyfish. Yeah.
Yeah, don't pee on it. It doesn't really work.
I would have. I don't care at that point. I would have said pee.
Yeah, you do anything, right? You cut the fucking leg off. Right?
Actually, that's where we get next. But I just want to say something though. I remember in the summer though. Before we get to the beach. Summer showers, and I remember, I don't know what it was, my memory always has them happening at night, or like when it's getting dusk, and then you get storm clouds overhead. I remember trying to rush to get home, because I knew the rain, and it was going to be a bad one. Then you're in the house, and that's when the thunder and lightning are hitting and everything, and then you watch TV, or like Svengoolie.
My favorite was, so I had mentioned about, going to my uncle's marina and working there, and let me tell you, if it was raining, well, look, if you're at a marina and it starts raining, business kind of shuts down. The boats aren't going out, nobody's fishing, nobody's going swimming, none of that stuff. So there's really nothing to do, and you would just sit there and watch the rain. And let me tell you something, it was pretty damn awesome, because you got these like 100-degree days, and then it starts raining, and you're feeling, because you're at the marina that I was at, there was this big overhang, right? So I'm sitting, against the wall, and like 6 feet away, the rain is coming down, hitting the ground, and you feel this mist of the rain hitting your face, and it's like, this is the best thing in the world,
All right. Trying to figure out who my local horror host was in the New York, New Jersey area. He was dressed like a mad scientist, or like a mad doctor, I should say, because he had like a doctor's outfit on, like with the stethoscope and everything. But I remember that, and I think he had an assistant, like an Igor type, with him too. But all right, here we go. Time to talk about the beach.
Life's a beach. Life's a beach.
For you, did you go to the beach during the summer, or did Chicago not allow that? The Chicago area.
Because I didn't live in Chicago proper, I lived in the suburbs, so we weren't really that close to the lake. So we didn't really get out to those beaches. The beaches that I got to visit were the ones on the lake. What is it? Charles Mill Lake in Mansfield, Ohio. A little man-made lake. It had a couple beaches, so I got to enjoy those. Those were fun enough. But in the suburbs, there was a municipal pool that in high school, I worked at the concession stand there when I was in high school.
Cool. What do they sell there? Hot dogs?
Hot dogs, pizza, nachos, that kind of pretzels, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, and I was working the whole time, and me tell you something. You know, you get to see the girls in the bikinis coming up to get the food. Man, it was the best thing ever. And you're in air conditioning, and you're in the shade and everything.
I have a question. Is that like the high school equivalent of being a bartender? Dating gurus always said you want.
I suppose you're right. It absolutely was. Yeah.
I remember dating gurus used to say you want a job that helps you pick up women, either become a DJ or a bartender. Okay, the job will do it.
Kind of was. I never really thought about that. You're absolutely right. So my dad, I've mentioned this before. My dad was a barber in Westchester. The same. What do you call it? Not strip mall, but I guess if you think strip mall, it's basically the same idea. The same complex. A few doors down had a hot dog stand there, and the guy Tony that used to run it, in the summertime, he would also run the snack bar at the pool. And he's like, "Hey, you want a job?" And I'm like, "Fuck yeah," you know. And I had no idea. Like, wow, this is a good job. Let me tell you something. This is pretty damn awesome. So yeah, it was probably one of the best jobs I could get when I was like a freshman in high school. It was awesome.
No, definitely. I mean, heck, that's you get some spending money. You get to you get to make you probably get to socialize too. Right?
I got to socialize. Let me tell you, it was awesome. It was like a lot of those teen films, from the 80s.
Like Fast Times at Ridgemont High and things like that.
Kinda. Maybe not that crazy, but yeah.
But it was the mall.
Basic ideas, job. Yeah.
And then get a job at the burger place.
So this is obvious. I can't imagine this is a lake beach. This has got to be
this has
got to be on the coast.
I guess I should specifically pick the Jersey Shore because, of course, that's where I went to.
Probably.
And of course, later on, summers in Florida would go.
I had one summer in California, so I got to see San Francisco Bay and all that kind of stuff. And I had at least a couple summers in Florida, so I got to see Pebble Beach, and
nice beaches in Florida.
Yeah, and there was a couple that I got to hang out with.
Except when the red tide hits, then it's nasty.
Oh yeah, I never experienced that.
Okay.
I was in.
With you.
I can't remember what year. If you guys could probably look it up and find out for me, there was a launch from Florida, an Apollo mission, where the astronauts were hooking up with the Soyuz, the Americans and the Russians. I can't remember which Apollo mission that was, but when that launched, I was there for that launch.
You can collect seashells by the Sally.
I absolutely did that.
Sally something she sells by the
She sells seashells by the seashore.
She sells by the seashore. Yes. Yep. Okay. I have a confession to make.
Okay.
I don't like the beach.
Really?
I went to it a number of times as a kid, and of course, when you're a kid, you build things up in your head because everything's new. Now that I'm older, I hate the beach.
It's hot. It's messy.
Well, for starters, I'm pale as all get out because
I was gonna say you burn easy. Yeah, you're
burn easy. And now I don't burn. I don't burn horribly as long as I don't stay out. And if I stay out in the sun long, I got to put sunscreen on. If I'm not out long, I can walk around. But if I'm going to be out for a long time, I better put sunscreen on. But no, you get burned. But that's not even the worst. But sometimes the sand will be hot. You collect seashells. But of course, there are things. There are things.
Yes, there are.
In the ocean. This is not a pool. Pools are nice. You got the chlorinated water that kills everything. I don't care.
It burns your eyes. Yeah.
I don't give a crap. Wear goggles. You're supposed to wear goggles. Wear goggles. Wear a thing for your hair if you want. That's fine. I don't care.
Talk about your hair. It used to bleach your hair. My hair would like 3 shades lighter in the summertime because of the chlorine in the pools.
Could also be the sun hitting.
And the sun, yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, here we have a jellyfish. Now, this is what they look like when they end up on the beach, I suppose. And
yeah.
Oh, don't step on the jellyfish. And as a kid, you're always curious. But I took the advice and stayed away.
Right.
And then one day I'm in the water, not even deep out, and I get hit by something fierce. And I come back, and it is horrible pain. And I got hit part way, like I think around my gut, like part way, and it stung like all get out, awful. A couple years later, I'm out in the ocean again. This might have been the last time I went out in the ocean. I don't remember if I've been out there since then. I don't know. And I got it right across the chest.
Oh
no!
Oh.
And that was painful.
I would imagine.
And
yeah.
that was just get me back to the place we're staying.
There's nothing you could do. They have these little needles that go into you.
No,
and
my
they
mom
shoot
put
out
some
a
cream on it,
neurotoxin.
and it made it a little better. Yeah, so that was better. Maybe that's what they mean by peeing. Maybe you do something to dilute whatever you got hit with. I don't know, and it got better. Jellyfish are nothing to mess with. You know, there's a jellyfish I think near Australia that is a so awful. When you get stung by it, you'll wish someone would kill you. That's how bad.
Oh, the Man of War, I think it's
Maybe
called.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
Avoiding jellyfish. SpongeBob is seriously disappointed. I didn't watch SpongeBob. Maybe I should. Maybe that's my show I should watch. You know how like we're all watching old stuff now? Maybe I need to catch up on my SpongeBob.
Maybe.
Avoiding jellyfish, though. Listen to me. Jellyfish. No. There are horrible things in the ocean. Of course, sharks as well. Jellyfish got me on my back. And you did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. I wasn't being reckless in the water. It just happened. Because these things float around and they hit you. Just horrible. The closest I want to be to a jellyfish is in an aquarium. I'll put it to you that way.
Agreed.
That's called that called the box jellyfish. I don't know, maybe the one on the screen here. Yeah, I guess. But yeah, I mean, to be fair though, despite this, I still reminisce about the beach. It wasn't all bad. I mean, there were neat things you could do in the beach area. You might go to a restaurant at the end of the day or get a snack at the beach at one of the stands. And, there were other things like, you might see a crab.
Sure.
Stay
Let me
away
tell you
from
something.
those.
I remember when I visited California, I went to Fisherman's Wharf. They had the best damn food there. That was great stuff.
Where?
Fisherman's
food?
Wharf in San Francisco.
Oh, that sounds lovely, actually.
Oh, yeah. You get, you can eat crab and lobster and oh my gosh, it was
My
good
favorite
stuff.
thing, if I can get them, if they're good, is scallops. That's my favorite seafood.
I did, yeah, I'd go crazy on the
You want
scallops.
to get the big ones? Actually, there's a pretty good place in the Fisherman's Wharf around my area that it wasn't horribly expensive last month. Of course, with inflation, I don't know where they're at now, but their scallops were actually reasonable and they were very good. So I might.
There
have to
was
go.
a place, they had really good hush puppies.
I love hush puppies.
My mom and I went crazy on them until we realized, all it is fried cornbread.
No,
we could make those fuckers ourselves.
You can buy mix at the store and make them yourself.
Yeah.
Here's where I think the hush puppy came from, and I think it's in the name. I think the idea was you're frying some fish and the dog is next to you saying ruff, and you're not going to give the dog your fish because that's your protein. But to shut the dog up, I think you would fry some of the cornmeal and throw it at the dog, and the dog would eat it. And I think that's where the term hush puppy came
Hush puppy, that kind of
be
makes sense,
completely
actually.
wrong. I could be completely wrong, but I think I heard that somewhere.
And it's not terrible for the dog because it's the fat's going to satiate him.
Yeah. Here we go. Sandcastle building. This is always a thing. Again, though, my parents are always like, they never wanted to live anywhere that didn't have ocean near it or be near the thing. And I'm like the opposite. I'm like, I can be inland. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Because here's the deal. I love seafood and sea life is fascinating, but, I went deep sea fishing a couple times, and if you think I wasn't hurling, you're wrong. Over the side. I did catch 30 mackerel one sea fishing trip.
I pretty well had my sea legs because, like I said, spending those summers at the marina, I was on boats all the time. So
yeah, I actually learned how to clean a fish one
Me
summer.
too,
That was
yeah.
interesting. You have to get the guts out of it, which I guess would be caviar. If it was a female fish, you had to get the eggs out of it, which I guess would just caviar.
Right.
in some cultures, yeah. But here, you could build a sandcastle. Those were always kind of fun. I would try to do those. You'd have to use buckets. The old-fashioned method was to get the upside-down bucket, pack the sand in, and then turn it out, get it wet. Kind of like, you know what? I'm now thinking we're going
kind of
back
like the
to
snow,
thing.
yeah.
And then you would kind of raise them up. This kid's doing it by hand here.
Yep.
Sometimes you'd get these little kits, though. These are always neat. There's a Smurf kit. That's a sand sifter. You use that to get shells with, to get the sand off them and other things. Or shark's tooth. You might find a shark's tooth on this thing. Or some hardened glass, like natural glass that was,
Or if you're in Chicago, maybe a bunch of used condoms or something.
Or a needle.
Or a needle.
Or used needle or something. I think that was a problem with the Jersey Shore. I think they eventually cleaned it up. People were finding like used needles on there, all sorts of horrible.
Not
things.
surprised.
Step on one of those. Come on. If you guys used to listen to the Beach Boys while going to a beach town, I don't remember. We did listen to the Beach Boys though. It's possible.
I definitely did enjoy the Beach Boys. Yeah.
The Beach Boys is great music. I mean, they were
my mom obviously was an influence on me for the Beach Boys. But then when I was in high school, I had a shop teacher who really pushed the Beach Boys and Jan and Dean for their formula songs.
Yeah. It makes me sad. You realize what California once was when you think about the Beach Boys.
I know.
Right now.
I know.
It's like a magical place. They all could all be California girls.
Yeah.
You might want to play volleyball. Or look at someone playing volleyball.
Yeah, no, you're right. Back then, you wish they all could be California girls. Now you're afraid they might be California girls.
Now they would have bleached purple hair and like,
exactly.
You throw them on the volleyball and they get a knife out and stab it.
Yeah, exactly. And don't look at me with your male gaze.
I don't know. I was never a big volleyball fan, but I used to do pool volleyball sometimes. Yeah, but they had other things at the beach. You might go surfing.
Pee Wee Herman.
Is that from Back to the Beach? Do you remember Back to the Beach? You ever see Back to the Beach with Frankie and Annette?
I did, but no, this is a Pee Wee Herman movie. I think it was his Big Adventure or something like that.
Maybe. I know he shows up in Back to the Beach for a song.
Oh, okay.
I need to rewatch Back to the Beach. That's on my rewatch list, but because what was funny is that movie took it like it's in the 80s and their beach blanket bingo characters were alive in the 80s and they had a family, and like the one kid's yelling at the mom saying, "What's for lunch? Peanut butter. You give me peanut butter every day." And like she said, but then she goes, because I guess in the 50s you always saw the kids eating a peanut butter sandwich, and he's like, "I'm done with the peanut butter. I don't want to eat this anymore."
Oh damn!
It was like basically making fun of. It's like an Austin Powers, but for now.
Exactly.
Welcome to the year 2024.
Right?
What is it? 5 more years of the Clown World decade. I don't know what the 2030s will be like. That'll be a new decade, but this is the Clown World decade.
John is absolutely right. Glenn Campbell. People don't realize Glenn Campbell wasn't just on the Cowboy Records. He was a session player, and he was background on a lot of other albums too. Yeah. No, he was a brilliant composer, musician. I'm not gonna take anything away from him. You might want to Shark. I'm getting ridiculous here. I don't know if I ever saw a shark at the beach, but of course this is from Jaws 4. Right.
So that's why it looks worse than the original. The original. I have to watch Jaws 2 because I kind of think maybe they didn't go overboard with Jaws 2, even though it's not Spielberg directing it. It might have still been okay. And then I'm thinking 3 and 4 just skip, right? I don't know if they went to 5 or not. But.
Well, 3 was good because it was that year that everything was coming out in 3D.
Friday the 13th 3D. That was another one.
Yep. Which was, by the way, my first Friday the 13th movie. I started with number 3 and freaked me the hell out. So I watched the movie without 3D glasses, so it was all blurry.
Oh, that's too bad. That was the one.
No, I did that intentionally because it was like
your uncle took you. You told me. We'll get into that a little bit because we're going to get into camp. Did you ever go to summer camp?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good because I didn't. So maybe you'll have some stories.
Oh, I got camp stories. Let me tell you.
Okay, so maybe we'll do that when we get to Rumble. We'll see. But you might get a hot dog on a stick. Yeah. I don't know what this is. Did you ever have this? What is a hot dog on a stick? Is that a corn dog?
It's a corn dog. It's basically a corn dog, yeah.
Okay.
I never cared for corn dogs because I didn't like the cornbread on it.
I'm all right with a corn dog. In fact, some of those fairs, they have the nice big ones you can get. But actually, Culver's, if you go to Culver's, which is a chain of hamburger joint.
No, we've got them here, yeah.
You can get a corn dog as a side item. You can get a corn dog. So, Big Al, I don't know if you have any.
See, my thing is that I would see these people eating corn dogs and they'd put ketchup on it, and I'd be like, "The fuck's wrong with you? You don't put ketchup on a hot dog?"
Yeah, I don't get putting anything on a corn dog. I remember on Stranger Things, I think the guy put mustard on it.
Yeah, that I can kind of understand.
Maybe I'll try that. Maybe I would like that. I don't know, but I would just eat them plain because I figure
seems incomplete to me because I feel like, well, I can put mustard on it, but how do I put the relish and onion and tomato? And, you can't do that.
Not that I want to get us off on a tangent, but I think I talked about this on Geeky Geezers. But remember the hot dogs with the filling in them?
Yeah.
Like the Franken weenies, which apparently were taken off the market because of
because they were weird.
No, because they would burn people. Like people got burned from making them. But
okay.
I thought that was incredible. The chili is already in the hot dog. I mean, come on.
Well,
this is not selling you, okay.
Jesse, I didn't even know that was a thing. And if you're going to do spicy, I'd rather just have a good hot sauce rather than a spicy ketchup.
I would try that, Jesse. I'm not as... I'll confess, when I was a kid, every so often I would put ketchup on a hot dog. I had to stop, though, because of the derision from everybody around me saying, who puts ketchup on a hot dog? I would get yelled at. So I just stopped doing it. Okay?
And you're from the New York, New Jersey area. Imagine if you were from Chicago.
Mustard.
Oh, yeah, in Illinois, it's blasphemous to put ketchup on a hot dog.
You know when I started putting on the hot dogs after that? I used to put relish.
Relish on
a hot dog. And we even had something in New Jersey called Piccadilly relish. I think that's what it was called.
Yeah, my mom and I would go round and round
with
that. It's not that. It's not that different from regular pickle relish.
It's different.
It is, but not enough to matter to me.
It's enough to matter to me.
So anyway. A Chicago hot dog, right? First it's steamed, right? The bun and the hot dog is steamed.
Yes.
You gotta have celery salt on it. That's the thing that most people don't even realize is on it. But celery salt makes a huge difference. Then it's mustard, onion, relish, tomato.
Yeah, they put tomato
and a spear of dill pickle, and two sport peppers, which they say are supposed to be hot, but they're not hot.
I need to try
There's
that
barely
someday.
a tang to them.
I need to try that someday. That sounds interesting.
That is the true and it's, to me, that is a hot is a meal, Now, I also did like plain hot dogs, literally just the hot dog in the bun.
Yeah.
But those were more like a snack. I could eat 2 or 3 of those.
Like Nathan's, the Nathan's chain has those. In fact, you can get a combo with fries, and you get a combo with 2 hot dogs, or 1. I usually get the 2.
Oh, that
then we get the fries with it. In New York, New Jersey area, though, we did have a hot dog stand called, I think it was called Muncie's. And I'm going to tell you what the typical New York, New Jersey style chili dog is. It would have mustard, chili sauce without any beans, no beans. And I believe onions on top, raw onions on top, little chopped raw onions on top. And that would typically be a northeastern chili dog. Yeah. I know they probably do them differently in different states, but that's usually what they would do.
So this Whataburger I've heard about in like Texas and the Southwest. Never been. I don't know anything about them, but yeah, I can understand.
I think I've run across a couple of those. They have in Texas. You say Texas? I think I saw one there. I might have eaten there once, actually.
And that's different. On a burger, I'm okay with ketchup on a burger. Ketchup on a burger is fine with me. Not on a hot dog. That's just wrong.
I like on a burger, if I go to Five Guys, I get the grilled jalapenos.
Oh, that sounds like it would be good. I've never had.
Yes.
For me...
I get them grilled, yeah.
Any combination of ketchup, mustard, onion, with or without tomatoes, with or without pickles, I don't care. Lettuce
pickles,
is
I need pickles. Some people don't like pickles, but I need pickles.
Mustard, onion only.
That's fine.
Netter likes mustard and onion. Now, see, one thing that I've started making here is sometimes I've got ground beef, and I'll just grill up the ground beef, so I've just plain ground beef. And I will make a cheeseburger salad. Chop up lettuce, onion, tomato, pickles. And then I put meat and American cheese. I mix them together,
Right.
throw that into it, and instead of any kind of a dressing, ketchup and mustard.
Okay. Is that another?
Essentially,
family
it's just a cheeseburger without the bun. You know,
I like the bun. I like bread.
well,
anyway.
I do too, but
I know if you're trying to cut back on the
Yeah,
carbs.
yeah.
I wanted to ask Netter something though. If you're a fan of mustard, some barbecue places in the South, they're barbecue sauce barbecue, but there's also a mustard-based barbecue too. If you knew about
Oh, I
that.
don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
that sounds interesting.
Some southern places, yeah. Some southern places do a mustard-based.
Are you? Technically, Florida constitutes the
I've never
South.
had it actually. Yeah.
Are you?
Had it, but I should try it.
Are you sauce or rub when it comes to burgers? When it comes to barbecue?
I like sauce, but I've tried rub before. I don't mind rub. I'll do
I
either.
kind of like both. Like both.
you know,
If it's a good sauce, I like it. I prefer the rubs because I like to eat meat. To be honest with you,
I'm gonna say this. I'm typically a pork guy, but I'll say this: I do like barbecue beef a lot too when it's chopped, and it's not bad.
yeah. So I've never been to Wiener Circle, although I've heard of it. But yeah, that's a shtick that a number of places here have. They used to have. Actually, I don't know. They'd gone out of business and then they reopened somewhere else. Ed DeBevick's used to be that way too, where they had this shtick where the waitstaff would be really rude, like diner rude, but it was all part of the gag. It was just part of the gag,
It's funny. I went to a French restaurant that seemed like that. There was a rude, but I think it was part of the gag, or
They
I
were
don't know. Maybe
intentionally
it wasn't.
snooty,
Maybe
yeah.
it wasn't, but. I'm sad that place closed down. It had the best dessert I ever had. It was at a French restaurant, oddly enough. Yeah.
There you
go. Let me go back, though. I'm first talking about hot dogs, but I'm going to have one last thing. There's an independent place here that does the Chicago hot dog like Troy's talking about. Okay. I'll keep an eye out. Maybe if I'm in a diner sometime and they got it on the menu, maybe I'll give it a try. But here we go. You might
Centipede.
stop by
I
a
remember
local.
that.
You would find arcades at beach areas, and sometimes they were
That's
quite
true.
sizable. I went to one where they had Shadow Dancer, the Shinobi game by Sega. They had that in the arcade once.
Okay.
They had all sorts of things. I think Dragon's Lair, I played that in one of these beach arcades. I think Tron, the original Tron game, I played at one of these beach arcades. But there's a guy playing Centipede, see?
Yeah.
Remember Centipede?
I absolutely do. It was the first game I ever played that had the trackball. I loved that.
Yeah, the trackball is incredible.
Missile Command used that too.
It's the one thing we don't have with modern consoles. We don't have the trackball. They did come up with a makeshift when they would release some of those old Atari games on PC, was that you could kind of use the mouse as a makeshift trackball. In fact, if you had one of those mice that had the mouse, the circle thing on top, you could use that like a trackball.
Nice. But we, like I said, I didn't live near the
beach.
Didn't live near the beach.
But they must have had some at the pool.
What we had, no, actually,
really,
I don't remember there being
played
any
Moon
video
Patrol
games at
a
the
public pool. I guess you didn't have any.
For us, there was just an arcade that was just a shop front, but there was also we had a miniature golf place called Haunted Trails.
Love
and it was a full-on arcade as well. And birthday parties there, and you could literally just spend all day there playing video games. It was wonderful, and it was like, in a lot of ways, it was like Chuck E. Cheese or Showbiz Pizza before those even existed. It was kind of like that. Didn't have the animatronics or any of that kind of stuff, but it had the arcade and it had a snack bar and had skee ball where you could win stuff and stuff.
Yes,
like that.
I used to love skee ball.
Yeah.
And you could win some if you get the tickets.
The whack-a-mole to get the tickets.
Whack-a-mole.
And stuff.
I remember
this was all
machines.
precursor to I almost said Freddy Fazbear's, but basically those things that inspired Freddy Fazbear's.
Oh, Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, Chuck E. Cheese.
I went to a birthday party at a Chuck E. Cheese once. We each got
I
a
had
token.
a couple. Yeah,
I spent my token on a game called Food Fight. Remember Food Fight?
I do remember that. See, we got whole buckets of coins.
I should have brought some cash with me. I was annoyed. I wish I'd asked my parents for more cash because I couldn't really,
Even before going to, even before we went
got
to
pizza.
Before we went to
cake,
Haunted Trails, there's this little ice cream shop that my buddy David, his mom used to take us to. We'd get an ice cream, and then we would play. I don't remember what games they had there besides Space Invaders. We were just playing Space Invaders. That was the first video game I ever played, was at that ice cream shop. It was Space Invaders. I told my mom how excited I was about Space Invaders. I wanted to go back and play Space Invaders. I wanted an Atari 2600 so I could play Space Invaders at home.
Yeah, well, that's the idea, but then it wasn't quite the same, was it?
No, it wasn't. It was okay, but it wasn't quite the same.
It was better than the Pac-Man that came out in the old Atari. I can tell
That's
you that.
for damn
That was
sure.
a disaster.
Damn sure.
But I'd forgotten Galaxian. I remember having. I talked about this on good old days, but I had an Atari computer and I played Deluxe Space Invaders, which apparently was put out by Midway. Even though it was a potato game. Yeah. First one I ever played was Asteroids. Yeah, but there were a lot of games I played in the arcade.
I loved Asteroids. The problem with Asteroids. So, you had two movement options, right? You had the thruster, right? Which was a lot of fun when there was not a lot of asteroids on the board, right? Because then you could go pss, 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 and then you'd be going fast, and you'd be going off the sides, and it was a lot of fun. Till, boom, you crashed into something, right? The other option was you wanted to stop moving. You'd hit the hyperspace, but then you'd appear in a random place, and you could appear right in front of an asteroid and smash your ass.
You know what's interesting? This was prior to the pandemic. This might have been during the last decade, but arcade bars were becoming popular where you'd have a bunch of free-to-play arcade games, but the idea is you'd still go into the bar and buy drinks. But you get to play some free arcade games while you're at the bar, and that was kind of neat.
They
were old school games like Burger Time and things.
I actually don't know if we still have them here, but we had Dave and Buster's, which was like that, except you were still paying for the games. So
yeah, this was more like local thing, like a local bar. This would be like where you'd go there, but you'd get to play for free, except for the Mortal Kombat 2 machine that took quarters.
Yeah.
But the other ones were all free, and they would switch them out so you wouldn't always get the same game. Like they had Cubert there. And I was telling my friend Rachel, I've never played this. Well, you have to. This is how you do it. You have to go, diagonal and everything.
Yeah.
I had Cubert on the NES actually. I got the NES port of that.
So Jesse had a Peter Piper pizza. It was fun for everybody. Pizza, wings,
sodas. You had me at pizza and wings.
Yeah. If they had video games too, you know what? It's just as good as Chuck E. Cheese.
And bumper cars.
I'll tell you what. Chuck E. Cheese had and if you've never seen Chuck E. Cheese or Showbiz Pizza, you kind of get the impression of what it's like from those Five Nights at Freddy's games, right? They weren't quite that creepy, obviously, but I'll be honest with you. Even as a kid, I was like, "Damn, this is like Las Vegas for kids." You know,
basically,
kind of was.
I didn't even think about that, but that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
They did a bad parody of Chuck E. Cheese on The Simpsons. I think it was
surprised.
called Wally something, and like all the kids were like, "It's Wally," and they all started attacking the guy because I guess there was a guy in the the mascot suit.
What's wild about the existence of these Five Nights at Freddy's horror games is if you're our age and you grew up with Chuck E. Cheese and Showbiz Pizza, it's like, holy fuck, I understand exactly what this game is. I could totally see this happening as an outgrowth from Chuck E. Cheese.
But do you know who made Chuck E. Cheese?
I don't want to know. You're going to scare me. I'm going to have nightmares. Don't tell me. What?
Nolan Bushnell, founder of Atari.
Oh.
When Mattel bought Atari and they said, "Hey, you get to still run the company. We're just going to buy it from you. You can run it how you want." We bought the company. You're fired. That usual thing. What did he do after he was fired? He started a chain of restaurants called Chuck E. Cheese that had arcade games in them.
This is brilliant.
Oh my goodness! I'm just thinking of this now, and I think Tron came out before that happened. But think about it. That's
Yeah.
like the plot of Flynn from Tron.
Kinda.
Flynn's a talented.
But let's
computer
face
programmer
it,
gets his game
that's
stolen.
corporate America. That's no, you know.
But then he starts an arcade. He runs an arcade
Right.
at the beginning of the movie.
Exactly.
To stay afloat. And I thought that, wait a minute, that's sort of what happened to Nolan Bushnell,
true.
the guy that
That's
created Pong.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, spend a lot of time and see, this is the other thing too. Back then, if you played Centipede, it was 1 quarter, 1 play. And when you were dead, you'd put in another quarter and start all over from the beginning.
Okay.
It wasn't until much later they started coming up with 50-cent games, and then you'd add another quarter to keep the game going.
And you could have continue.
Yep.
Some of those games are ridiculous. My son loved Five Nights at Freddy's. Yeah, see, well, that's kind of neat, though. So it's like something from the old days is still getting passed down. Yeah,
my buddy's kids were real into that, and I'd never heard of it until they showed it to me. And I turned to their father, and I'm like, "Damn it, it's Chuck E. Cheese." He's like, "Yep, that's exactly what it is."
So we're heading toward the midnight mark now.
Yep.
Or the halfway mark. You want to do a transfer over before we start talking about summer camp?
Yeah, let me tell you something, guys. I'm getting more and more frustrated with YouTube as far as the watch hours. I'm struggling because every week that I'm thinking this is the week, and then you got to remember it's 365 days, and that first day falls off when day number 365 gets added on, and I'm just not making it. But I'm making money over on Rumble. So guys, I would super appreciate it if you guys would all jump on over to Rumble now. I've been running the Rumble for this whole time. You can always start there if you choose to. But let me put that link right here in the chat.
And my YouTube is still up if you guys want to
Right. If you're on Netters, just stay there. But
you got all sorts of interesting videos on Rumble too that you don't see on YouTube.
That's true. That's true because they're not allowed. It's.
I need to be hanging out here more often.
If they're not allowed, does that make them a quiet?
Kinda. How do I
Dude, the My Pillow guy is advertising when I click play on your video over here.
So I got it pinned. So now if you're on YouTube, the pinned comment will get you over to Rumble. You know what I want to do, man, is I want to I know on Mondays I make this an intermission thing. I don't want to do that, but what I do need to do is I need to hit the head. So while you guys are all moving over to Rumble, I'm gonna hit the head real quick. So I'm gonna stop my cam and I'll be right back. And when I get back, I'm gonna shut down the YouTube stream and we'll move on over to Rumble and give me 3 minutes and I'll be right back. Okay, you can keep going if you want, but I'll be right back.
All right. So any of you have any fascinating summer camp memories you want to share with us?
Oh, gosh.
Did you go to summer camp?
I had gone to a camp. It was actually with my church. So we were there for like 2 weeks. And I remember they would do these weird games. One of them, it was, they were supposed to, like, they would have a camp counselor that would, like, inspect your barracks every day.
Oh.
And you were allowed to play jokes on them. So they ended up at one point taking everyone's mattress. So there was like, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So there's like 16 mattresses because there was bunk beds. And there's like, maybe there's only 3 on one side. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So there are 12 mattresses. So it's bunk beds, 3 on each side. So they had all those mattresses and they put them against the door so they couldn't really get the door open. And once they finally did get the door open, they'd fall onto the mattresses. At least that was the idea. Well, then just made our bunk look sloppy because we had all these mattresses all over the place. So we got points deducted for that. And I was against it because I was like, I just made my bed. It looked nice and neat and pretty. And when they took off my mattress, they wrecked how my bed looked. So I was not happy with that. It's like, don't touch my stuff. It's like, and they just did a bunch of really stupid gags, to try and get the counselors. And it's just like, leave me out of it. I'm not interested. That was the only one I was forced to be a part of, and it's only because they took my mattress after I left the room.
Oh. And you got points deducted. What did that mean if you got points deducted? What would happen?
Nothing really. It was just like, if you got, like, at the end of the 2 weeks, it's like, okay, you know, this cabin got this many points. This cabin has this many points. Whoever had the most points got some silly prize. So if you got points deducted, it's kind of like, you know, watching Harry Potter. You know, Gryffindor gets 10 points or whatever. It's like we might have like 5 points deducted for having a messy bed or something.
Okay.
Ooh.
Gonna shut down the I think you guys are all over on the rumbles anyway. So
Tired.
Bye YouTube.
Bye YouTube.
Let's remove that.
Netta was sharing some of her summer